Okay, welcome everybody to the council public meeting for Tuesday, April the 29th. I've got to read this little poem before we begin. If a person, public body, or specified person does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the city of Richmond Hill in respect of a proposed official plan amendment or zoning bylaw amendment, the person, public body, or specified person is not entitled to appeal the decision of the City Council to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Okay, so that being said, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I need, first of all, motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Tree, Councillor Davidson, all those in favor? That carries. Disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Nobody's pecuniary interested. That's good. Next is we have 3 items tonight, so we'll deal with them in order. The first item is request for comment zoning bylaw amendment for 44 and 46 Bond Crescent, and our staff planner is Giuseppe Russo. So, Mr. Russo, if you can come and give us the details.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor West, members of council, and the public. The first item tonight involves a submission of a proposed zoning bylaw amendment application to permit a residential development to be comprised of 5 residential lots on the lands municipally known as 44 and 46 Bond Crescent. The subject lands are located on the north side of Bond Crescent at the easterly limit of Wellspring Avenue and are comprised of 2 existing residential lots. The lands have a combined frontage of approximately 37.8 meters along Bond Crescent, a lot depth of 129 meters, and a total lot area of approximately 1.2 acres. The 2 single detached dwellings fronting onto Bond Crescent are proposed to be retained. The surrounding land uses include a mix of residential and commercial uses to the north, fronting onto King Road, and existing single detached dwellings to the east, south, and west. The subject lands are designated neighborhood in accordance with the city's official plan. The neighborhood designation permits low-density residential uses, commercial uses, community uses, among others, subject to the policies of the official plan. With respect to low-density residential uses, the official plan permits single detached dwellings. The lands are located within a priority infill area, specifically the approved Bond Crescent infill study, which envisions the subject lands as low-density residential. The subject lands are currently dual zoned. A portion of the subject lands known municipally as 44 Bond Crescent are zoned residential urban zone under bylaw 1275, while 46 Bond Crescent is zoned single detached 6 zone under bylaw 7120 as amended. With these applications, the applicant is seeking approval to permit 5 additional residential lots at the rear portions of 44 and 46 Bond Crescent with frontages of 12.5 meters and 14.9 meters for the corner lot at the future intersection of Wellspring Avenue and Littleside Street. The development also proposes to facilitate an extension of Wellspring Avenue and a portion of the Littleside Street at the eastern limit of the development. Planning staff have circulated the subject applications to internal departments and external agencies for review and comment. The purpose of this report is to provide council and the public an overview of the development proposal and has been structured for information purposes only, with the recommendation that all comments be received and referred back to staff for consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think for the applicant, Edward Mack from Evans Planning. Come on up, Mr. Mack. You've got 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor West and members of council. My presentation, in essence, was practically a duplication of Giuseppe, so I won't even bring that up. And just wanted to note thank you for staff for working with us, and we are working through the standard process for this rezoning and subdivision application, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Mack. You might win the award for the shortest presentation by an applicant so far this year. That's great. It's a small coffee, so it's not really a big prize, so. Okay, that's great. So we've got, is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment on the first application? Okay, seeing none, and we have no delegations signed up virtually, so we'll bring that back to council, and this is a Ward 1 issue, so we'll go to Councillor Davidson first.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask staff, does this design and the lot size fit pretty much what's already there? That's a neighborhood that's been being developed over the last few years.
Through the chair to Councillor Davidson, yes, the proposal is in general keeping with the lotting fabric in the surrounding area, and is an extension of some infill development that has already started in the area.
Through you, Mr. Chair. And are these lots similar in size? They're not half sizes or semis. They're, just to be clear, they're similar in lot size to the homes that are already there. This is almost infill in a way because there's houses, I believe, on both sides of this development.
Generally speaking, through the chair to Councillor Davidson, generally speaking, yes, and that's confirmed with the proposed zoning that they are proposing, which is the R4 zone, which is comparable to the zoning that's been established in this neighborhood.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to remind residents that this is the very beginning process, but I have no more questions. Thank you.
I'm sensing that you want to move a motion to refer all comments back to staff. Okay. And I'm sensing that you want to second it.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do have one question regarding to the extension of Wellspring Avenue. So I see the map, both sides has the part of the Wellspring Avenue. So this proposal will connect everything together, or just going to be another partials?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, so it is a portion of a further extension of Wellspring Avenue, but there is two properties that is in between the proposal and the extension of Wellspring to the east. So until those two properties develop, then the full Wellspring Avenue will be complete.
Will be completed, right? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Another question is, so I see there is a small, I'm not sure small trio or is what, it's connected with King Street. So in the middle of this Wellspring Avenue to King Street, is that a trio or is something as a walkway? Because just curiosity, maybe in the future, they're going to be build up a new road cross here. So the resident can take this one going to King Street. It might be a problem because this is really very quiet neighborhood.
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, so that may be an informal walkway and not a formal city-owned walkway where people have kind of used that property to kind of traverse into the neighborhood. It doesn't appear to be a city-owned walkway.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I don't have further questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So Councillor Silovitz, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everybody. Just one question through you to our director, Janetta. There's a large forested area there. How do we work out what's the metric that the proponent would have to replace what is removed or repay in a way back to the city what is being lost there?
Ms. Janetta?
Through the chair to Councillor Silovitz, I don't have the tree bylaw in front of me, which sets out the tree compensation rate for the loss of trees that are removed from a property. But it's all in what will be applied is the rate of compensation for all the trees lost and or cash in lieu. in the event that we cannot replace all of the trees that are lost to development. Compensation is provided as cash in lieu as well. So it's generally speaking tends to be a combination of both where appropriate.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's also important for the local residents to know that, specifically because this is located in Oak Ridges and it has such wonderful forested areas. And I would decry the loss of something like that. But if there's some compensation, then at least there's some compensation. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor. Is there anybody else at this time on council? Okay, seeing none. So we have a motion before us to refer all comments back to staff. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a request for comments, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application for 50, 54, 62, 72, 78, and 86 Elgin Mills Road West. And for the staff, we have Elaine Leung, who will come up and give us a rundown of what we're looking at here. Welcome, Ms. Leung.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor West, members of council, and the public. The second public meeting tonight involves official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications to permit a high-density residential development on lands municipally known as 50, 54, 62, 72, 78, and 86 Elgin Mills Road West. The subject lands are located on the north side of Elgin Mills Road West, west of Yonge Street, and are comprised of 6 contiguous residential lots. The lands have a total lot area of approximately 0.6 hectares or 1.5 acres. Thank you. And a total lot frontage of approximately 116.4 meters or 382 feet along Elgin Mills Road. The lands currently support 5 single detached dwellings, which are intended to be demolished to facilitate the proposed development. The lands abut existing townhouse units to the north, a watercourse associated with the German Mills Creek to the northeast, Elgin Mills Road West to the south, and single detached dwellings to the west. The lands are designated neighborhood in accordance with the city's official plan. The applicable policies provide for a range of low and medium density residential uses. Development within the neighborhood designation permits maximum building heights of 3 stories, except on arterial streets such as Elgin Mills Road West, where the maximum height can be 4 stories and a maximum density of 50 units per hectare or 20 units per acre. The subject lands are also identified within a priority infill area, which provides for a broader mix of housing types while utilizing existing infrastructure. With respect to the zoning, the subject lands are zoned 3rd density residential R3 with a small portion zoned flood zone under zoning bylaw 2523-86 as amended, as well as residential semi-detached and duplex 2 RD2 zone under zoning bylaw 190-87 as amended. Through these applications, the applicant is seeking approval to permit a residential development of a 7-story apartment building with 227 apartment dwelling units. The proposal is to include indoor and outdoor amenity space with 2 levels of underground parking. Access to the site is to be provided from Elgin Mills Road West. The applicant's official plan amendment application seeks approval of a site-specific amendment to the neighborhood designation policies applicable to the lands in order to permit an increase in the permitted building height from 4 stories to 7 stories, and an increase in the permitted density of 2.8 FSI, which is equivalent to 378 units per hectare, excuse me, or 151 units per acre, whereas a density of 50 units per hectare or 20 units per acre is permitted. The applicant's zoning bylaw amendment application seeks approval to rezone the subject lands to multiple residential 2, RM2 zone under zoning bylaw 190-87 as amended, with site-specific provisions to implement the development proposal. The subject lands are located within the boundaries of the Elgin Mills BRT station, protected major transit station area referred to as PMTSA 46, in accordance with the regional official plan. Staff have circulated the applications to internal departments and external agencies for review and comment. The purpose of the report is to provide council and the public with an overview of the applicant's development proposal and has been structured for information purposes only, with a recommendation that all comments be referred back to staff for consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next person to speak is Mallory Nevis. Did I say that right?
Close enough. Good. Thank you.
Thank you for the applicant. So you've got 5 minutes to address council.
Okay. Thank you. So good evening to the chair, to the mayor, members of council, and the public. My name is Mallory Nieves, and I'm an associate at the Biglieri Group, and I'm here today to make a brief presentation on the proposed development for 50 to 86 Elgin Mills Road West, which requires applications of official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. The subject site is located, next slide. The subject site is located on the north side of Elgin Mills Road West, approximately 150 meters to the west of Yonge Street. And the lands are surrounded by a mix of townhouse and single detached dwelling units. To the east of the site along Yonge Street are a series of commercial plazas and centers with significant amounts of surface parking. As mentioned, the lands are comprised of 6 municipally addressed properties and have collective area of 6,073 meters squared and have a net site area of 5,948 meters squared after the required road widening that has been required by the region. Sorry, it's being a little slow. There we go. The subject lands are located within the urban area of the region of York and are located within proximity of an existing bus terminal and are in proximity of a site identified by the region as a potential GO rail station subject to further study, according to the York Region 2022 Transportation Master Plan. So as noted, the lands are located within the neighborhood designation of the Richmond Hill official plan. It should be noted that the official plan has not yet been updated to reflect the policies of the York Region official plan and the designation of the MTSA. And I think also hasn't been updated to be in conformity with the updated provincial planning statement. So as mentioned, the subject lands are located in the regionally designated Elgin Mills Protected Major Transit Station area, which establishes a minimum density of 160 people and jobs per net hectare. Per the York Region official plan, which is now deemed to be an official plan of the City of Richmond Hill, major transit station areas shall be the focus for higher densities and intensification. Major transit station areas along regional corridors will be the prominent locations for the highest levels of intensification. The existing Yonge Street BRT is only a 2-minute walk from the subject lands. The proposal consists of a 7-story residential building with 227 proposed units with a range of unit sizes. The proposed floor space index is 2.85 and the proposed number of units per net hectare is 382. 2 levels of underground parking are proposed with a parking supply of 269 spaces. 234 spaces are dedicated for residential spaces, while 35 are dedicated to visitor. Given the site's location within a PMTSA, no parking is required under the Planning Act. Materiality for the building has been chosen to highlight the 4-story mass presenting a street wall that frames Elgin Mills, and the materiality of the upper stories has been chosen, and the stepping has been done in an attempt to minimize the appearance of the upper stories. The site has been designed to have massing of the building directed towards Elgin Mills and the rear massing to be broken up and reduced to ensure compatibility with adjacent properties. Pickup and drop-off areas are located internal to the site with suitable access to loading garbage spaces and the underground parking ramp. Amenity spaces are located within the east and west landscaped buffers and between the wings of the building at the rear. Internal amenity spaces are provided adjacent to the outdoor amenity space. In addition, a rear laneway is proposed to provide pewter connection to the private road to the west as requested by staff comments. The proposed development will achieve angular plane conformity in alignment with the urban design principles of the city. Stepping at each level at the rear has been incorporated, provides terracing for units, and minimizes potential overlook onto adjacent yards. Stepping is also incorporated in the front facade with stepping at the 5th and 7th stories to present a compatible condition along Elgin Mills. And as mentioned, the building has been designed to step in at the east and west sides of the building to achieve compatibility with adjacent dwellings. As part of the application, a number of plans and reports were provided, including but not limited to a transportation impact study, a natural heritage valuation, a functional servicing and stormwater report. At this point, we have received all the comments from staff, and following this meeting, we will be looking at making a resubmission to the town to address public and agency and department comments. Thank you. I'll close with that, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we will, there's nobody virtual tonight, right? Okay, so we'll open this up to the public. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, members of the public are more than welcome to come up and speak about this application or the next one that we have after this. You've got 5 minutes to address council. Actually, you can have a seat, Margarita, thank you. You've got 5 minutes to address council, and if you could just state your name and address at the beginning of your delegation, just so we have that for the public record. And again, just to reiterate, we're making no decisions or no final decisions here tonight. The motion that we will be putting forward, like the last application, will be to refer all comments back to staff. This is just a step in the development process under the Planning Act that we use to kind of introduce a planning application once the application is complete. Okay, so is there anybody that would like to kick us off? Come on up, sir. And you also get a prize for being the first person to speak. And again, it's a small coffee, so it's not a big prize, but yeah.
So whatever you.
Yep, just go ahead, okay. And you've got 5 minutes to address.
Sure, sounds good.
Just name and address.
Sure. So good evening, Mayor West, members of council, city staff, and fellow residents of the Elgin Mills Road West community. My name is Kenneth Ho. I'm a resident of the 100 Elgin Mills Road West Townhouse Complex. Now, first of all, thank you for organizing this public meeting to discuss the proposed zoning amendment of the 7-story, 227 units residential building. As Mayor West noted in his statement on his website, the housing crisis is a pressing issue that Richmond Hill and other municipalities are working to address. While we support efforts to tackle this challenge, we urge the council and developers to prioritize the long-term sustainability of Richmond Hill, ensuring that the development preserves our city's livability, infrastructure capacity, and environmental integrity of Richmond Hill for future generations, a city we call home. This meeting provides a crucial platform for residents to voice concerns and ask questions. Many in our community couldn't attend due to personal commitments, but their voices are captured in an online petition with over 80 signatures, highlighting concerns such as traffic congestions and infrastructure strain. We ask the council to imagine more than 80 people sitting in this room right now tonight, visually representing the significant number of concerned residents in our community. For those of us here after a long workday, our presence underscores the importance of the issue. Now to start, I'm going to mention a couple of the key objections our community have. And the first objection is the incompatibility with the neighborhood character. The proposed 7-story building with a density of 2.85 times of the loft area is incompatible with the existing low-rise residential character of the area, which consists primarily of homes and buildings no taller than 3 stories between Bathurst Street and all the way to Leslie. This development would drastically alter the streetscape and aesthetic cohesion of our community, and we believe that it would also destroy the character of Elgin Mills Road West. And that being point number 1. Number 2, increased traffic and congestions. The addition of 227 dwelling units will significantly increase traffic on Elgin Mills Road West, a single-lane road presently in each direction for much of its length between Bathurst Street and Teston Road. The proposed entrance and exit located in the merge lane where Elgin Mills Road narrowed from 2 lanes to 1 poses safety risk and will exacerbate congestions, particularly at the already busy intersection of Yonge Street and Elgin Mills Road. This may also spill over into Dixon Street, the sole entry and exit for 100 Elgin Mills Road West residents, increasing the risk for both vehicular and pedestrian traffic. So I would like to ask the members of the council and also Mayor West to think this thoroughly for the long run, for the long term of the city, so that we will maintain the attractiveness of the city of Richmond Hill for future generations. And I now invite also other residents who have attended this meeting to share their perspective. Now, thank you again, Mayor West, councilors, and city staff for listening, and we look forward to our ongoing dialogue on this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And so on that note, is there anybody else that would like to speak to this? Okay, come on up, sir. Name and address.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, councillors. My name is Bernard Fernandez. I too reside at 100 Elgin Mills Road West, and I'm with a group of unit owners totaling 52 in our complex. I'm going to cover 2 points as we only have 5 minutes, and another unit owner will pick up on several other points. My concern my unit is in a line of 16 other units that face the boundary wall on the proposed building that's been suggested in the amendment. So 16 feet away from the boundary wall. And my concern is the loss of privacy. I would suggest that floors 6, 5, 6, 7 are probably going to have clear line of sight to our private areas and the common elements that we currently enjoy during the summertime and months either side of summer. We do a lot of our recreational work there, barbecues. Our neighbors' children play in this area, and the loss of privacy is a big, big concern for us. The other issue is I would suggest too, I'm not an architect, but the amount of sunlight that we're going to lose with a 7-story building will probably lead to a lot of us, and an old guy like myself will probably end up suffering from seasonal affective disorder. I'm not saying I will, but I would suggest. So there's a lack of sun, and a lot of us unit owners use the back of our units to power our solar devices, things like our CCTV cameras. So if we're going to have this building up, we're going to have the potential of losing sunlight. The second point I'd like to cover is the noise, dust, and disruption during the construction phase. And if this plan is allowed to go ahead, or this amendment, there's a construction phase. Sorry, there's an excavation phase, there's construction phase, there's fitting and completion phase before unit owners move into this new complex. During that period of time, there's going to be a lot of noise, audible noise from construction vehicles, excavation equipment, generators, concrete mixing machines, and a whole heap of other heavy duty vehicles that'll be in and out of that particular complex. The audible noise is one thing, and it'll be throughout the day. The other point is the vibrations that will come out of these machines that travel. I'm an engineer by training, telecom engineer. And one of the things I know is about low frequency noise. This is the noise that goes through the ground, and you can actually feel it inside the buildings when traffic is moving. I would suggest to you that there's going to be a lot of that, both noise that we're going to feel coming through the ground and audible noise. Those are my two big concerns, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, who's next? Come on up, sir. Oh, no? Who's next? Come on up. So welcome. Just name and address.
Sure. Hello, my name is Patty Sarantopoulos. I live on 8 Creekview Avenue. I didn't prepare anything today, so I'm going to speak to you from the heart. I live in the area. Creekview, we try to get onto Elgin Mills, and currently traffic has been increased so much that it takes us like 5 to 10 minutes to get out of our street. I have friends that live on Elgin Mills, just around the corner from me. They can't get in and out of their homes. They have to wait in their driveways for about 10 or 15 minutes just to, get out safely so they don't have an accident. If there's more cars in that area, and there's only 2 lanes from Yonge and Elgin Mills all the way down to Dufferin. It's going to be crazy. Teston's going to be opening up. Teston at the end of Dufferin eventually is going to be opening up, and that's going to be additional traffic coming onto these streets, let alone there's 2 condos being built around the corner from Yonge and Elgin Mills, just north off of Longo's there. That's going to be causing a lot of additional extra traffic and congestion in our area. Currently, there was a proposal for Treasure Hill to build a condo just south of Yonge and Elgin Mills. We were concerned in our area that the extra traffic, because there was an area that was open, and we had a lot of foot traffic in our area. We had a lot of vandalism, cigarettes, garbage. My son's basketball net was vandalized so many times, cars broken into. We have a garage door opener that was tampered with every night because people were walking by. Our safety's at risk. Now they've closed that off, thank goodness, and we've noticed a little bit of a decrease by putting another building over there with so many people, and there's going to be a lot of foot traffic, and we don't even know, is this building going to be resident? Is it rent? Is it condos? We don't know. We haven't been advised. I don't know if anybody here can let us know that information, but more traffic. If visitor parking's full over there, it's going to be spilling onto our streets. We don't have enough parking currently on our street for our visitors because it's been decreased. So it's just going to be a big mess. It's just a big mess. And us as taxpayers of Richmond Hill, I hope that, people listen to the taxpayers for once, because it seems like nobody listens to the taxpayers anymore. Oh, and the people that live in the area. It's always the builders that get the approval stamped, and we are nobody anymore in our own residence. Like it's very sad that us as people, democracy, we come, we speak, we try to give you our information, and we speak from our hearts because we live there. We encounter these problems every day, and nobody listens to us. So I really hope that you take constituents' concerns at heart and listen to us for once, because it's like rubber stamp, builder gets everything done. And the people that actually live there for years, love the area, don't want to live downtown Toronto and have those huge buildings in our areas, because we want the sunlight, we want the clean air, we want all this in our area. And yet you guys just keep rubber stamping everything and bringing so much congestion into our lives. When's it going to stop? When's you going to listen to the taxpayers, the people that live in the area, that love the area and cherish where they live, their homes, their families, the livelihood? And that's what makes Richmond Hill so wonderful. And that's why we all live there. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yeah, come on up. Welcome. Name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Sheila Hamilton. I am another resident of 100 Elgin Mills. There's a lot of us here tonight. Thank you for having us to provide our feedback and ideas on the proposed very large, very dense apartment building. And that's the thing. Very large, very dense. 3 times the allowable density. You're talking about adding 300 cars, 300 people, and that is just a bit too much for that space. You're also looking at digging down 2 stories to allow for parking for all those 300 people, and that's right beside a floodplain that would negatively affect a lot of the people behind the building. And that is my concern. When that 2-story volume of land is removed, what happens to the water table? And I understand that the city is already looking at flood mitigation and adding underground parking both at this location and at the location at Canyon Hill is going to have a negative effect on the water table. So we'd like to avoid flooding as opposed to encourage it. The other thing that concerns me is the parking. Now, I've lived downtown, I've lived a lot of different places, and there's never enough visitor parking. It doesn't matter how many places you assign. Most people have more than one car if there's more than one person in an apartment. So a 36 visitor parking limit doesn't seem to be enough to me. And that would mean additional parking in the neighborhood. And the closest neighborhood is right around the corner, 100 Elgin Mills. Our streets are narrow. We have good parking for our own cars. We have visitor parking, but do we have enough space to get overflow parking? Do we have to manage that? Do we have to pay for having people towed when they park their cars in our private laneways? That's an expense, and we'll be complaining to the city. So it's an expense for you guys as well. There's also, our neighborhood has a lot of children, a lot of families, and there's a lot of kids that play around there. An expanse of that many cars is concerning to me for health and safety reasons. I walk in the area. There's a lot of dog walkers in our community, and that number of cars is a very big concern. And that's it for me. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, come on up. Just a name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Aram Rajapur. I live on 49 Carrington Drive. I wanted to say that I support this application. I support aspects of this application. I support the density and the height. I also like the limits on parking because I walk everywhere and I don't like the car-dependent nature of the city. All these people driving around, especially on these roads with these arterial roads that have residential zoning, all these people are driving far away to the grocery store or like wherever they need to go. The bigger the distance between the place people live and the destination, the more stress that's going to put on the infrastructure. This is close by to shopping, place for shopping and bus. So I think that the location would minimize the stress on the infrastructure that this kind of development would have. I also want to say that my criticism of this, I will say that I think it should be mixed use. I think the first story, I don't know if it is or not, but I think the first story should be open for businesses. Why? Because the people that live in the place should not hop in their car and go to the No Frills or something that's nearby, or the shoppers, like, they should have an option that's close by. And I also think that would be really good for the other people that live on Elgin Mills if they would, something within walkable distance. Other than that, I like increases in density on arterial roads. I think it is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else? Come on up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Eric Ouyang. I'm a resident of 100 Elgin Mills West. I have a couple of points I want to bring up here. First of all, it's about the traffic. We all know that it's a very serious issue, and I understand that the city is going to plan to widen the road in two ways, but it will be let more cars, more traffic to use that road to pass to go through from Yang to the buffers. So that won't be more. That will be attract more traffic, and then the traffic congestion will be more serious. And if additionally have 250 more cars from the complex, from the new development to join the traffic, it will be more horrible. And then I just learned that from the architect, from the developer presentation, the building will be step in to the south. So it seems help to improve the sun angle, the project to the townhouse from unit 1 to 17 of 100 Egron Mills Road. But I would like to ask the architect or developer to have really need to take a look of that angle. Is this good enough for the people who live in that unit? Because if is even though it's not a wall like a wall, but it's not like it's the mass and huge buildings. It's not like a big Lego block put it there in front of the houses, the unit, the townhouses. So the people who live in the townhouses, those units, especially for those units, they will have the mental need of psychologically issue. They may think to face, if they have not enough sunlight, or also the fresh air from the south, that would be let them to have the problem for their health. They may have some depression, they may have very low mooding or anxiety that would affect their health seriously. So when I walk around in the neighborhood, I met my neighbor, the only neighbor, and she's very anxious to talk to me about his worrying about the sunlight, about the air, about the everything. She's worrying about because of the new structure. So to me, I would like to suggest that besides the requirement, the sun and shade study need to be submitted for the council to approve. And also, I would like to ask if they can do the microclimate study assessment and also the traffic study. That would be help to improve the development in our community. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, anybody else? Come on up, sir. Welcome. Just name and address before you.
Yeah, my name is Richard Sarantopoulos. I live on Creekview Avenue. Good evening, David West and the councilors there and the audience public. Just got a question regarding the owner of the properties there. Is he under contract or is he the actual owner? Does anybody know? Does the Bellagio, whatever they're called, group know? Or
I don't know that.
Because if he's not the owner, if he's
it's not. Just hold on a second. This isn't really a question and answer session. It's just mostly for.
Okay, yeah, because I won't get an answer then. Because if he's not the owner, then he's just trying to get this approved and then flip it to a developer who may approve this or increase density or whatever. That's one of my concerns. I don't know if he's actually owns this and he's going to build, or he's going to try and flip it and make some fast cash. The other question is the building down for the parking and stuff. It's going to affect the water table. I live on Creekview. I got a sump pump. 30 years, 25 years, that pump never turned on. As soon as they opened up R10 and connected Creekview, every spring that thing's working nonstop. And if it dies, my basement is going to flood. Now we're going to dig 2 stories down there. So I don't know how that's going to affect it. I don't think it's going to affect it in a positive way. And the other thing, sorry, I forgot the group name, whatever. She said there was going to be a proposed temporary entrance or exit in the back. Do they own the property? Because there's 2 houses there. They don't even own it. So how are they going to cut through the person's backyard so they can get their own exit?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I know it's not an answered question, period. And the gentleman back there, I don't know his name. He's saying that they should put like, commercial stores. They got too much traffic now. You're gonna put commercial stores there and more traffic? It's kind of seems stupid. He's saying, oh, people can walk to Loblaws and, no frills. And then he's saying, put the stores over there. So he's contradicting himself. So,
Okay, well, we're here to
yeah, I
make
know you're
comment
here,
on the
you don't answer
application, not on
questions
other
and stuff
people's
like that.
comments.
Yeah, so that's my concern. Then the parking is horrific. There's only 4 parking spots on Creekview. And people from Elgin Mills right now, they park on there. So if they have a party or we have a party, it's like a mad dash. Who can get those 4 spots? And now we're adding more cars, and going in and out is rush hour time is like, good luck. You're gonna need like somebody with a traffic to guide you in and out. So it needs a lot of work before it should get approved or whatever. And that's all I have to say.
No, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay, anybody else from the audience? Come on up. You've already had your turn, right? Only one per customer, sir. Sorry. Okay, anybody else? Okay, come on up, sir.
My name is John Tsai, and Unit 25, 100 Elgin Mills Road West. First of all, thank you all for having this invitation and reminded us of the meeting. Very kind of you. First of all, I've lived at this location for more than 12 years or even more. My wife always remind me of it. So from the beginning, our construction that was there, 100 Elgin Mills, I understand from the board president as well as from the builder that the council did not even let them build 1 foot higher because of the eyesight from cooperage. First of all, okay, please make note and remind what you did before. Secondly is we have a private entrance coming into 100 Elgin Mills. That road is now ours, assigned by the town, because I used to be a board member. $700,000 reserve fund to maintain that road. And then you're going to have lots of traffic, as well as the other 15 townhouses to be built. Also, our traffic going to come in. So those are immediate attention needs to be planned out, right? I'm not saying don't build anything. If they're building 3-story, 4-story high, we probably will compromise, right? Nobody will make a big deal about it. But putting a 7-story building, it's huge. The other thing is, before you do more construction here, we're already going to have the Green Park one, which is nice, but then already people who are more knowledgeable than I do understood the potential of the water coming through. Every spring, if we have a large snow accumulation before, it's already flooding. Our area is flooded. It gets to be about 10 foot away from our complex on the northeast side, okay? So first of all, every time my wife drove, we stop at Elgin Mills because if there's a train passing through, both sides are blocked, all the way to Bayview, all the way beyond maybe Shaftesbury or whatever. So if you are going to put a new bridge, underpass, everything, that's worth considering. Open up 2 more lanes going west of Elgin Mills because you're already bottlenecked every day, okay? Weekdays, weekends. So fundamentally, you have to reconsider this kind of application should not even come through to this hearing. It should be stopped before it comes to this hearing, right? I never will come to this session, right? If you're putting up a townhouse, the only thing I complain is they should not come into our private road. Dixon Road don't exist. Dixon Road is a private road paid by us, right? Unless they want to take over and pass $700,000 worth of reserve fund that they should pay us back. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice? Nobody else? Okay, so we'll bring this back to council. The ward councillor is Councillor Tree, and you'll want to move a motion to refer all comments back to staff? Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. First one, thank you so much for all the residents come here to express your concerns and also your requests regarding to this new proposal. So I do have a few questions. If I use up the first round, I might go to the second round. So the first question I have here is regarding to this location. Is that belong to our KDA for this Bernard KDA area?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, no, it is not.
So this is not
The Young Bernard KDA.
Okay, this is not Bernard KDA. I want to confirm Mrs. Support. So this is now city trying to intensify from our official plan. The second question I want to ask is for the transparency. Someone asked that. So do we have any public meetings host before this public meeting? Because this is one in City Hall. So I want to see, is there any public meeting for residents to join to have a free chat?
Through the chair, this is the first statutory public meeting that's been held on this particular application. Sometimes local councillors do hold separate residents meetings for an application in their ward. My understanding is that you haven't held one for this particular proposal.
Okay. So I'll say apologize. I did not realize I should hold that one. So apologize. That should be kind of more transparency. I saw this email, this proposal. I think I sent out newsletters around 2 months ago to the people who can reach out. But unfortunately, majority people leaving behind this 100 agamios, I could not reach out. Apologize for that. I should have maybe more outreach to more residents nearby here. I apologize for that. My next question regarding to the distance from this side. So I heard the stories from this side. The distance from here to Yonge Street is only 2 minutes. How far that going to be? Is 100 meters away or is like 80 meters away?
Through the chair, if you give us a couple minutes, we can measure it on a map.
Okay,
but we
apologize
don't
for
have-
that. Okay,
Sorry,
no
we
problem.
don't have
Yeah.
that information offhand.
Councillor, why don't you continue? And
I'll continue. Next one, I think a lot of residents concerned about the traffic security here as well. Last week we had, a few weeks ago we had another meeting discussing about around 17 or 18 townhouse, just very close back here. The traffic concerns I want to raise up again. As I remember from the previous meeting, there is no plan for widening the Mills West based on York Region's solution. Is that correct? I want to confirm that. 2025, I see 19th Street on that list, but for Egan West, at least 2025, there's no such plan, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, for 2025, there is no planned road widening of Elgin Mills Road. If that changes based on demand, York Region will advise the city, but at this time, my understanding, it is not planned for 2025.
Okay, thank you so much. Look at the current situation along the Egan West, the remaining street, there's always townhouses and houses. I don't see a major new construction come here at all. So in that case, even this plan put forward, I doubt because a single plan, York Region maybe consider extension the entire road. So the traffic problem will be still there. So this is my concern as well. So my home is very close back here, buses and Jefferson side. So I driving here along either Young or Egan Mills. So this road really causes a lot of traffic. So especially on the east side of Egan Mills, there is a railway passing by. So my both kids study in Richmond High. Every day I just bypass Young Street and I tried using Yorkland. So I understand how busy this area is. Whenever it's rush hour or it's after work hours, it's always busy. So I acknowledge this one. I think within 1 or 2 years, I don't think there is any plan to widen our street. So traffic problem will still be there. So my next question regarding to the heights. If I remember correctly, based on the new bylaw or zonings, along the Artery Street, this one is we're allowed only 4 stories as heights, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, so the Centers and Corridors bylaw that was just passed by the city actually doesn't cover this area. So you're referring to the city's official plan. The city's official plan allows for 4 stories along arterial roads, which Elgin Mills Road would be considered.
Okay, so based on current bylaws, so what is FSI regulations here? It's gonna be 2 or 1 or low densities? What exactly that number is?
So because a mid-rise building was not contemplated on this site, the neighborhood designation allows for 50 units per hectare or 20 units per acre. So that's the density. We don't have an FSI because this type of built form wasn't contemplated on these lands.
Okay, I want to acknowledge this here as well because on the other side of the street, that's the Creekview, if I remember not wrong. So that one, also Arton Street. In the past 2.5 years, I received tons of complaints regarding traffic. So illegal parking, school bus parking there. Imagine if on the other side of the street, there are gonna be another 200 units. I don't know how big it's gonna be. So there might be more complaints for either illegal parkings or traffic issues as well. Next question regarding to the heights. So, and this is the single line so far I can see along the Elgin West. That is 7th floor, which is really close to Arthur Street. So my question here is, Anglo plan. So is there any plan impact for the residents nearby? Because majority area only 1 or 2 storage. So this one 7 storage. That gonna be looks like. I don't have questions. I'll go back next round. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. So Councillor Thompson, you'll second it, the motion?
Yes, thank you very much. Through you, the chair, I do have a couple of questions, observations as well. So I didn't realize initially when I saw this that these properties were actually within a PMTSA. And I just want to, could we expand a little bit on that? So I understand that in a PMTSA, we won't have any requirements on parking in that situation. But how does that work with the height? So I understand that originally these subject lands were never considered for the type of height and density that was being looked here. But under a PMTSA, is there certain things that we have to observe because this came down from the province? It wasn't something that we thought about in terms of coding. And I'm not sure if I'm phrasing my question well here, but if you could just expand a little bit and tell me how that applies with heights.
Actually, could you just for the sake of the audience, PMTSA is Protected Major Transit Station Area. Just so we're on the same page. Go ahead, Ms. Janetta.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So the PMTSA 46 is the area that was defined in proximity to the Elgin Mills BRT station. So the PMTSAs were radiuses from the BRT station that the province determined that these areas have to meet a minimum density requirement. The minimum density requirement for this particular PMTSA is 160 residents and jobs per hectare. So as council is aware, the city is undergoing an OP update. And as part of that OP update, these PMTSA targets for density are being incorporated into the city's official plan. They are applicable because the regional official plan is now deemed to be part of the city's official plan. What that means, though, in terms of height, is it doesn't actually translate into necessary specific heights. It suggests that in this particular PMTSA, that the city is required to meet the minimum density requirement for this area, and that can take the form of ground-related residential, high-density residential, a mix there too. Any which way the city determines they are able to meet that minimum density requirement as prescribed by the province and downloaded to the region and downloaded to the city. In some of the larger PMTSAs, like the KDAs, we have done more detailed reviews and analysis for the area as a whole, and again with the objective of achieving these minimum density requirements as prescribed by the province and the region. And you will see that they are much higher, more denser in the KDAs versus other areas of the city. In this particular area, it is within a priority infill area, so there is an opportunity to look at the area a little bit more comprehensively in terms of making sure that the city meets that minimum density target.
Definitely appreciate that. And I have to say, this is exactly the type of information that is very difficult to get out there to the general public so that they understand. And I know that one comment was made in regards to when where number 100 is that they had to live within very specific requirements and that they couldn't deviate and go beyond that. But that was before these things were downloaded through the province, through the region, and basically forced us into a no-choice situation. We have to employ the provisions that they've put out here. So I certainly empathize. I get it. People aren't, we're talking about change that is not necessarily what we want. I mean, I've lived it myself. I lived south of Yonge and Finch over 40 years ago, and I saw how it changed at that time, and I didn't like it. That's why I moved here. And now, something else is happening, and there's things that I don't like either. I get it, Just a couple of quick questions. So people are talking about the traffic, and a lot of this would actually come further down the road. So we're no pun intended, that in terms of the planning process, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So actually, we do a lot of work at the outset, and really in determining whether there's feasibility for the proposal. So the city's transportation staff have provided some comments with respect to the traffic impact assessment that was done and submitted in support of the application. The region has also provided some comments in that regard as well. They will provide comments with respect to the feasibility of this proposal for this stage of development. More detailed analysis, i.e. trends, TDM measures that may help mitigate traffic situations will be done later at the site plan stage. Circulation, appropriate circulation on site. Those are the types of details that are dealt with more at the site plan stage. But at this point, we're looking at, is this proposal from a feasibility standpoint appropriate? And both city's transportation staff and York Region staff have provided comments that the applicant needs to address.
Definitely appreciate that through the chair. So I guess the type of mitigation things you're talking about for the site plan would be like a right in, right out, that type of thing.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, that's correct.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. And finally, there's been a lot of concern about what will happen during construction, vibrations, all that type of thing. If I'm not mistaken, there are some pretty rigid codes that would go into place for any development. That's safe to say.
So there's two parts to that question through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So there's the construction management practices, which are all regulated through the city site plan approval and secured as part of agreements with the city. As part of the building code review of the application, vibration, kind of the stability of soils to withstand construction are all reviewed at that stage, as well as part of the engineering review. So those things are done prior to and covered off in accordance with city standards and Ontario code requirements.
Thank you very much. Just one final thing. I had an observation. I was looking at, one of the amendments here, and on there, it looks like there's something called a Greenbelt Plans Protected Countryside that seems to come through a portion of this property through the southeast corner. Could you speak a bit to that and what the impact is, or what the impact potentially be to this development? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So there is a portion of the floodplain at the eastern limit of the property. It is within the TRCA regulated area that it continues to remain under their jurisdiction. There is a requirement, the comments were provided that they would like to make sure that the meander belt is in fact been measured correctly and any buffers there too be applied. So the applicant will have to do that work to ensure that the TRCA is satisfied.
So it's too, through the chair, it's too early to really say where we're at this particular point in time with that. That'd be safe?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, they've requested clarification to make sure that they meet it. So they will, as part of the remaining review, we will have to ensure that they meet those requirements.
Got it. Thank you so much. Those are all my comments.
Okay,
Second.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Silovitz and then Regional Local Councillor DePaulo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the applicant and our staff for your presentations, and to everybody who stepped forward to speak here tonight. You were very well informed and you spoke very, very well. And I certainly appreciate all your comments, as I'm sure my colleagues do as well. A number of the points that I've written down here have already been covered, so I'm not going to repeat them. One thing I would like to be clear on, is this going to be a purpose-built rental building, or is this a condominium corporation? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through the chair to Councillor Silovitz, my understanding is the proposal is currently proposed as a condo development.
Okay, thank you. And has there been any discussion had with regards to affordable housing?
Through the chair to Councillor Silovitz, they have not provided information in that regard, and we've requested information as to how the proposed development would meet the city's requirement for 25% affordability.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So just to reiterate, as the mayor has said quite a few times through this meeting, we're at the very beginning stage here. And sometimes it does feel very premature to be in this particular position, but we have to go through very specific stages that are mandated by the province and under the Planning Act. This is the first part of it. So we've got a very far way to go. And to the resident, she spoke so well from her heart. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. You made one comment that we as a council just seem to rubber stamp everything. We don't. I can assure you we don't. And in fact, this particular meeting shows you that we don't, because there has to be open, transparent discussion between the applicant to our staff, and then between the applicant and our staff and us to you, the public. And there will be a number of public meetings such as this that will follow as the process moves its way through committee and then to council. So I just wanted to assure you that this council definitely does not rubber stamp development applications. We look at them very carefully, and we ensure that they follow not only our official plan guidelines, if there is an official plan amendment that is asked for, that it has to be asked for appropriately, and also that whatever is proposed is in keeping with very specific provincial bills like Bill 23 and Bill 109 and the provincial used to be called the provincial policy statement, provincial planning statement. So there are levels of instructions, so to speak, that us as the city, our staff, our planning staff, have to abide by what is mandated by the province. And unfortunately, sometimes, especially now, that doesn't gel with what we want as a city or what you want as residents. But we have to fulfill the obligation to the province. We're in a very difficult position, and we try to do the very best that we can for our residents. With regards to Elgin Mills Road widening, through you, Mr. Mayor, to our director, it's my understanding that a few years ago an EA, an environmental assessment, was undertaken to eventually widen Elgin Mills Road as a priority east-west regional corridor. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through the chair to Councillor Silvett, I can't confirm that, but I can provide that information back to council.
Thank you. I definitely do remember an environmental assessment that was done for Elgin Mills. So that's a part of it too. And then with regards to one of the residents spoke about the railway line, the York region, and I'm sure that local and regional councillor DePaolo might be speaking to that. But the York region is looking into, and it's an ongoing situation that the Elgin Mills railway track will ultimately be bypassed, either below or above as a bridge. And that will most definitely help a lot of traffic. And then just lastly, I would just like to say that I hope, I trust, and I hope that the applicant will continue constructive discussions with our staff, with the local councillor, as well as with our regional councillors, because this is a regional road. And I would like you to please take a really good look at your urban design. I find that the building, with apologies to the architect, the building is very institutional looking, and I believe that we could get something just a little bit better. If we are going to be putting a low-rise building here, I think that we can find something that's a little bit more attractive and that the established residents might prefer. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to Regional Local Councillor DePaolo, your recollection is correct. There is a plan at the region to improve Elgin Mills, and the overpass, not underpass, over the CN rail tracks is in process. I mean, it'll be a few years before that happens, but it is progressing. They're working on the detail of the design and everything for the overpass. So, Regional Local Councillor DePaolo. We can't hear you, Councillor. No. No, your lips are moving, but there's no sound. Perhaps you could do it as an interpretive dance. I'm kidding, don't do that. Okay, no, I can't hear you. Is it possible to get troubleshoot this and maybe give him a phone number to call in? Hold on a second, Councillor.
Thank you. Through the chair, Councillor DePaolo, in your Zoom invite, there will be a phone number. Let me just give it to you now. It is 647-374-4685. And then webinar ID that you have to punch in is 870-3157-6611.
Can you can hear all that, Counselor?
I'll send you an email.
Okay,
I will
okay.
send you an email.
You know what? I'll make my comments first while you're hopefully get that sorted out, and then we'll come back to you if that's okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Counselor Davidson. We'll come back to you, Counselor
Thank you.
DePaula.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll be the time filler. I don't want to echo what my colleagues have done. I do think this is huge and is going to have a massive impact on the existing neighborhood. My questions, I agree. One entrance and exit from this specific spot where it narrows into one lane. I don't even see how that's going to work. Is everyone coming out of that building going to have to turn right? Is there going to be another light? I think the traffic implications, especially this close to the KDA, the key development areas, and the other developments that we see in the hopper for this area, I think we're all cognizant we don't want to create just massive gridlock. I'm also interested in the plan. Like, let's imagine, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm asking staff, if we had a winter like we did this year, where's all the snow going to go? Where is the extra land for things that come up when you live in a large apartment? Where do the big garbage bins go with relation to the townhouses behind? Through you, Mr. Chair, is that been taken into consideration, or is that something that comes in the future?
Ms. Giannetta?
Through the chair to Councillor Davidson. So actually, one of the comments provided by Park and Natural Heritage staff was that snow storage hasn't been identified in the plan. Those are typically details that we look at through the review on the site plan application, notwithstanding they are flagged. So for example, for waste collection, if it's required, clearances and what have you are reviewed and advised at this stage. So we have a little bit of work to do on this proposal at the current time.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So there's really just one in and out, right? Right down the middle. So I don't even understand how a big well, I guess they do their own garbage. I don't know how all that even would work. But my main concern is the in and out onto Elgin Mills, which is already a difficult street to maneuver. The other question I have, through you, Mr. Chair, and forgive me, I know planning knows MTSA, KDA, and all the acronyms, but a major transit area, does that mean that our official plan of 4 stories has no teeth, doesn't matter? And because it's designated MTSA, the city's 4 stories are irrelevant? Can you help me understand what we have a right to say yes or no to?
So through the chair to Councillor Davidson, so the PMTSAs regulate density. They don't regulate heights. So the region has always delegated and has delegated the appropriateness of development to the local municipalities. So in this instance, the 4 stories does continue to apply. That's in the city's OP as it relates to neighborhood lands. If the city so chooses to achieve their minimum density target for this area in heights that are beyond 4 stories, we can do that. And we have not looked at this area fulsomely as to how we are achieving the minimum density target as required by the province. Through the OP update, this area, among other areas, are being reviewed to ensure that the city is in compliance with the regional official plan and the provincial direction with respect to the PMTSAs.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So just to simplify that, you're saying that we're looking at the Richmond Hill official plan to make sure that our heights and densities, or at least densities, are in line with the region and the rules now dictated by the province in terms of building homes faster. So our actual official plans are all being reviewed to see if they now are in compliance with the province, since the province has the final word.
Through the chair to Councillor Davidson, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, have we got Councillor DePaulo sorted out yet? No? Yes? Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
Sorry, through the mayor. Councillor DePaulo, I did send you an email and it's on your text on your phone. Okay, I think he's just calling in.
Okay, I'll make my comments and while we're waiting. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Just so you know, there is a staff report available. It's on the website. And this staff report contains a lot of the information that we're talking about here tonight. It's not a final staff report because this is only a preliminary meeting, but it does actually talk about or answer a number of the things that you have mentioned here tonight. And some of the comments that you've made are also echoed in the staff report, that there is no definitive answer at this point in time about those things. So I appreciated Councillor Thompson's question about the protected major transit station area. The fact that it's in a PMTSA, we're in a housing crisis. The provincial legislation that we're operating under right now does not give us carte blanche to say yes or no to different applications. We do have to analyze this clearly to make sure that we are balancing the need for housing, which we really do have a need, especially housing that's affordable. And just on that note, I would ask that before we go any further, I'd ask the applicant, if you're going to be building something like this or anything smaller like it, whatever, we really need to be talking about housing affordability. We need to be getting as much affordability as we possibly can. But having said that, we don't have all of the power to simply deny an application, because if we do that, what ends up happening is it goes to the Ontario Land Tribunal and then it's out of our hands. The OLT will make a decision. So I mean, I'm not wild about that system that we have that we have to, operate under. But the one, I suppose, good thing about it is it does make the applicant and the city and the residents kind of sit down and come up with a compromise. So hopefully that's what we'll be able to do today, because to be honest with you, this application I think is too big. I mean, it's that simple. I would go further. Councillor Silovitz was probably being more generous. I really don't find that building attractive at all. I realize that there are restrictions on how you can do a building and how it can be aligned and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think you're there yet. So I really think that the building looks very massive. It looks very institutional. I don't like the color palette. It doesn't fit in with the neighborhood. But a lot of that, I believe, is due to the fact that this application is putting something too big in an area that it doesn't really belong in. So I would ask that, the applicant go back, work with staff. Something will get built there. There's no question about it. And we need the housing. But while we're in a housing crisis, and I'm willing to stretch a little bit where necessary and where it makes sense, but I think this is stretching too much. And this is designated, if you look on one of the pages in the staff report, the staff clearly says that this is designated as a neighborhood designation, which, while the applicant is hoping to change that designation, at the current moment, it's designated neighborhood, and a 7-story building would not be allowed in that designation. So there's more work to do. So I'd like the applicant and our staff and the public to continue working to get something that's going to fit better in that area. And hopefully we'll get something coming out the other end that works for that area and helps us to fulfill our housing needs and our housing targets in Richmond Hill and in the greater province of Ontario as well. So those would be my comments. I see that Regional Local Councillor looks like he's now connected. So Regional Local Councillor, you've got your time to speak to council.
Okay, can you hear me now, Mr. Mayor?
Perfect.
Oh, very good. Okay. I'm really sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on with my audio tonight, but I definitely am hearing everyone on council. I agree with what my colleagues are saying up here, but I'm also very appreciative of the comments that have come from the members of the public that have stepped forward tonight. I really, really congratulate you for coming forward and being a part of this process. We really are just at the beginning. We have an application. There's nothing we can do about accepting applications. Once it comes in, it triggers a process, and this is virtually step one. Now, our staff will go back and they're going to examine the studies that have been submitted by the applicant. Specifically the shadowing studies. There's a lot of concern about the blocking of the sunlight that this building will cause on the surrounding neighborhood. The 45-degree angles, the environmental impacts. And we are aware that this is a high water table at these Yonge and Elgin Mills. There's a reason why we haven't permitted in our official plan very much density here. In fact, we were forced to absorb a lot of density on Yonge Street, but that was pushed further north to Yonge and Bernard. So we are aware of the limitations in this area. And, if this council is going to reject the application, we have to find sound planning arguments to do so. And that's the only way that our decision can hold up through an Ontario Municipal Board appeal. So the applicant has a right to appeal any decision of this council to an Ontario body. So the province sets rules and guidelines, and these MTSAs have been mandated virtually the entire length of Yonge Street. We're trying to protect this Elgin Mills intersection and our historic downtown area from just a wall of density all the way down Yonge from Highway 7 up to 19. So we're going to be looking very critically at this application. Our staff will be. They'll be giving us information as a council. It's certainly never the case that we would rubber stamp anything, and we go through a lot of effort to plan where the density is going to go in Richmond Hill, because it's forced upon us. There's nothing we can do. We have to absorb 100,000 residents in the next 15 to 20 years, and that population has to go somewhere, and we're looking at accommodating as much as possible on transportation corridors. So that the overpass at Elgin Mills is slated in the regional capital plan to begin tender and construction in 2027. That's where it stands today. And myself and the mayor and Godwin Chan, the other regional councillor, will be fighting hard to make sure that happens, that we get our infrastructure that's so needed in this area for the traffic to flow better. Elgin Mills will be widened, and it's very likely that we'll either have a GO station or a subway station even at Elgin Mills and Newkirk. So we are doing our best to safeguard the interests of the residents in the area. Thank you for coming forward, and please continue to come forward. Please continue to have your input as we go through this process, and we'll make sure we get the best result we can for the community. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor DiPaolo. So Councillor Tree, you want to do a second round? There's nobody else on the first round, I don't think. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So I just have two more questions. If I realize that's correctly, so this proposal on the east side will be a single house on east side. And also on the west side, this building will be two separate houses nearby. Is that my understanding correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree. So to the west of the property, there are two single detached dwellings between this property and Dixon Street. To the east, there is one single detached dwelling and a large property, 19 Leonard, I believe, and that seems to be vacant.
Okay, so yeah, from a purist perspective on the street, if you drive there, front one you have a very low house, connect together directly, there are going to be another two separate houses. Yeah, it's going to be designed, just my understanding. So I'll leave that one there. My second question regarding to is the environmental protections here. If I read correctly, I think our councillor Scott Thompson also mentioned that one. If I look at the map correctly, the east north corner or northeast corner really just right inside of the green zone. I'm assuming that's going to be the creek areas. So from the distance perspective, I know there is a regulation, maybe normally it's 15 meters. Is this proposal meet that requirement for the flooding zones, also riverbed, etc.?
Through the chair to Councillor Tree, the TRCA has provided comments for clarification to ensure that they do meet those requirements. So at this time, I can't comment whether they meet it because they have been requested to provide clarification and additional information in that regard.
Okay, so far there's no feedback yet, right?
There is feedback for clarification at this
Okay,
point.
sure, got it. I don't have further question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Silva, is that a hand from last time or a new hand? Okay, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Councillor.
Thank you.
Okay, go
It's
ahead.
brand new hand. Thank you. I just wanted to make one further comment. The young gentleman who stepped forward, I commend you for your progressive, your progressive thinking as to how we need to be building our towns and cities into the future with regards to walkable, sustainable cities. So congratulations. I was very impressed. You very, very, very rarely hear that coming in as a statement. So you've also done your homework. Thank you very much for that. And with regards to that, if I may, just to perhaps help the residents understand a little bit further, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Director Janetta, could you explain to us, could you give us a further explanation as to what our parking standards are for this particular area, which is identified as a PMTSA? Parking standards are very specific policies and regulations that we as a city, as a municipality, must follow, and they are set by the province and also set by the region. So perhaps just a low-level discussion on this could also help the residents understand why the parking standard is the way it is here. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
So through the chair to Councillor Silibet. So the province, as part of the as part of the identifying areas as PMTSAs, also mandated through legislation that no minimum parking requirements would be applied to these areas. As a result, there are no minimum parking requirements for any development within a PMTSA. Parking standards are applied throughout the city. Outside of PMTSAs, we are not allowed to impose minimum parking requirements. In the event that a developer wants to provide parking, they can do so. It is at their choice, but we as the municipality cannot, on the basis that as part of being, again, within a PMTSA, the thought is that you are in proximity, close proximity to transit services, and therefore residents should be taking advantage of using transit services.
Right. Thank you, Director Janetta. I appreciate that. I just wanted to add that to the public conversation, and hopefully the residents can understand that it's not that we are passing the buck with anything, but everything is downloaded to us, and then we have to comply with what the province demands, and it is a demand, what the region has decided upon, and what all different legislations that apply to the Planning Act. In conjunction with the Planning Act, we must comply with that. So while it may look like there's not enough parking underground for everybody, and there's a concern, a valid concern about cars then overflowing into neighboring streets, we do everything we possibly can to make sure that if there is any kind of overflow, then at site plan, we discuss that as to how we can control parking on other streets. With regards to the private roadway at 100 Elgin Mills West, that is a private roadway. So there would have to be, in my opinion, you'd have to have some kind of discussion with your condo corporation as to how you can protect that road so that it doesn't become a public thoroughway. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other comments, we have a motion on the floor to refer all comments back to staff. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, so the final public hearing tonight is number 4.3 on the agenda, and it is a request for comments, official plan, and revised zoning bylaw amendment application for 13572 and 13586 Bayview Avenue. So if we can get Samantha Young from our staff to outline the application.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, go ahead, Samantha.
Good evening, Mayor West, members of council, and members of the public who's attending in person as well as virtually. Tonight's public meeting involves an official plan amendment and revised zoning bylaw amendment of applications for the lands municipally known as 13572 and 13578 Bayview Avenue. The subject lands are located on the west side of Bayview Avenue, north of Snively Street, and have a total lot area of approximately 1 hectare. The lands are presently vacant and abut the Wilcox and St. George Provincially Significant Wetland Complex to the north, south, and west of the property. And Bayview Avenue is to the east, and there is a single detached dwelling to the immediate south of the property. The lands are designated neighborhood and natural core in the city's official plan and are subject to an approved official plan amendment. This is OPA 36 and 48, which was approved by council in July of 2022 and May of 2024. The proposed development is within the neighborhood land use designation, which permits medium-density residential uses with a maximum building height of 4 stories and a site density of 50 units per hectare. Notwithstanding the neighborhood designation policies, the official plan amendment 36 and 48 permits the development of an 8-story residential building with a total density of 285 units per hectare. The natural core designation is intended on maintaining and/or improving or restoring the ecological integrity of the natural features and functions. The applicants have submitted a natural heritage evaluation addendum letter as part of their submission, which is currently being reviewed by city staff and the TRCA to ensure natural features conform with the policies of the natural core designation. The lands are presently zoned agricultural zone under bylaw 1703 as amended. However, the associated zoning bylaw amendment application, which is city file number D02-20009, was approved in principle by council at a meeting in May of 2024 to rezone the lands to multiple residential 1 zone and environmental protection area 2 zone under bylaw 313-96 as amended, with site-specific provisions to facilitate the development. At this time, the amending bylaw has not been brought forward. In this regard, the applicant has now submitted a revised zoning bylaw amendment application to facilitate the proposed increased density and building height. So this here is a slide of the currently proposed site plan. With this, the applicant is seeking council's approval of its official plan amendment and revised zoning bylaw amendment applications to increase the maximum building height from 8 stories to 10 stories and a site density increase from 285 units per hectare to 483.3 units per hectare. The proposed increased density would accommodate an additional of 93 units, bringing the permitted total number of units from 135, as previously approved, to 229 units. This is the proposed building elevations for the latest development, which supports 10 floors of residential use and 3 levels of underground parking. The previous proposal was to be comprised of 5 residential floors and 3 floors of above grade parking. And this is also another elevation from another perspective. Okay, and the subject applications and associated studies and reports have been circulated to city departments and external agencies for their review and comment. The purpose of this report brought forward tonight is to provide council and the public with an overview of the application's development proposal and has been structured for information purposes only, with a recommendation that all comments be referred back to staff for consideration. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, so for the applicant, Adam Layton from the Goldberg Group.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I find myself in an unenviable and unusual position. I certainly have not ever had to come before council this often for a proposed development. But suffice it to say, it is a sign of the unusual times we find ourselves in. In this regard, one of the main components behind the need for this amendment is not only additional technical study, which have resulted in greater knowledge base formed for the groundwater and soil conditions, but also the ongoing, shall we say, uncertainty regarding construction and market conditions, which in and of itself is not typically seen as a planning issue, but suffice it to say, in my own opinion, it is an issue wherein a development cannot make a business case to be built. In that case, it could not fulfill the intended housing targets or other good things that would be provided. So in this regard, we are, sorry, this keeps falling.
Okay, we can still hear you.
Okay. In this regard, we are here tonight to discuss the further OPA to increase the height of the previously approved 8-story building to a 10-story building. Moving to the next slide, we have a comparison. We have the subject site, which I think everyone is familiar with. The next slide shows the comparison of site stats. And I will move a little quicker than normal through this presentation because we do have a lot of technical detail that I understand or assume will likely be of concern. One of the main changes through this, as indicated by city staff, is the implementation of underground parking, which I will get to at a later slide. But moving on to the next slide, the site plan, which in terms of development limits and applicable buffers from the identified Snively wetland has not changed. That will continue to be the case. No development is occurring in or within the wetland itself or within the buffer. All of that is being conveyed to the city, which I believe is pretty close to about half of the overall property. Moving on to the next slide, we see a change of the ground floor, reconfiguring the parking and the lobby layout and amenity spaces. The next slide is where we get into the interesting things. This shows the 3D massing of the building with the additional heights. On the left is the previous scheme, on the right is the current scheme. And what's shown here is the portions of the building that project into the angular plane. There are some projections similar to the prior concept which was approved, but primarily the building maintains the angular plane. The portions that are encroached upon are upper parapet areas or roof structures. Moving on to the next level, you'll see the breakdown of uses by color. The ground floor is primarily still parking, but where we previously had 3 levels of above grade parking, we've moved them underground, and that was deemed to be appropriate through a continued hydrogeological study that has been provided to staff. We are waiting on comments from the region and TRCA in that regard, and we will be certainly providing any other technical details that are needed. Aside from that, the pink portion of the building would be residential, the orange would be amenity space. So by and large, the massing maintains largely the same. The next slide provides some sections with also the red outline showing the prior massing. So you'll actually see in some regards there is a reduction in building height along the southern wall. And then we also on the next slide have the comparable renderings, which were shown by city staff. The next slide is probably of most interest because the underground parking is really the new aspect to this development proposal. So what's shown here is a plan of the boreholes that have been drilled, as well as schematic cross-sections of the soil and groundwater conditions. We do have the project hydrogeologist here from SLR or Palmer, who can certainly go into detail much greater than I. But what we find ourselves with is a condition where the green area on the cross-section is what is called an aquitard. It is soil conditions that do not readily permit the groundwater to move in any great manner. And that is in fact why the wetland has formed. It sits on top of the aquitard rather than percolating and infiltrating into the soil. So the red outline shows the limit of the underground parking garage, which is intended to be fully waterproofed. So there is no drainage from the ground, what groundwater there is, getting into the city system. It would be watertight. And as you'll see, the aquitard actually forms a pretty consistent and solid barrier between the underground parking area and the future limit of development and property line in the wetland. And so on that basis, we provided our technical data to TRCA in the region and the city, and we are waiting on those comments. Aside from that, the next slide shows the landscape plans, which are largely refined, but no major changes there from the prior development. Still a large plaza leading up to the building, a double row of trees along the Bayview right-of-way, as well as the provision of a future multi-use pathway and a robust replanting plan within the boulevard, within the buffer from the
Okay,
wetlands.
Mr. Layton, you're over time, so we can just wrap it up?
Sure. Happy to answer any questions. And again, we do have the experts from SLR as well as our traffic engineer in case there's any questions.
Okay, thanks so much. Okay, the next delegate is Ramin Jalapur from Arkfield Developments. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mayor West and the member of councils. Firstly, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to have a quick talk here. So I want to start with that. I want to admit that we're not happy back here after a few times. And we plan to launch this project last year in September 2024. We got everything ready. We spend a lot of we spend a lot of money and resources to get the project ready. We prepared everything, all the marketing materials, which I'm very happy to share with any of the councillors. And considering of the market situation, we could not launch in September 2024. And now we're back here to make an amendment to the application and make the project more feasible due to the current market and situation. We have to make this to survive. So we prepared a quick presentation about this project in Arkfield, and which could answer some of your question. The next slide will present that the Arkfield portfolio. We have currently 20 projects under management. They are in different stages, either under construction, under development, or entitlement, and some of them are sales, and some of them is already completed. 6 million square foot in the pipeline, 7,000 units to be produced or to be built. If we go to the next slide. So this is a snapshot of our project that you can see some of the project that we have, not all of them. This is across GTA. And if you go to the next slide. So here are the 5 projects that we have actively in Richmond Hill. We started Richmond Hill, we call Richmond Hill home, and we have a strong ties to Richmond Hill, and our office was located in Richmond Hill for a long time as well. So the top 3 projects, the first one is Duncan Hill Homes. This is the one we have it under construction already and is expected to be completed by the end of the year. And the other 2 projects on the right side at the top level, to the top is Maple Park Homes and Duchess of Oxford that they already completed and built. So together is around 100 houses that we have built in the last couple of years. And at the bottom are the 2 projects, and one of them is the project that we're talking today about. So the 2 projects that we are hoping to launch in 2026, one of them is a condo and the other one is a townhouse in Richmond Hill as well. So this shows that we are not a land flipper. We're here to build. If we wanted to flip the property, we could have made money in 2022 when the market was good, but we didn't. We kept the project, and we are adamant to build these houses. And if you go to the next slide. So before I talk about this slide, and we also very active in North York and other across the GTA. We are partner with the reputable builders. We're partner with Tridel, and we can bring a strategic partner in this project as well. We're aiming to either build a condo or rental for this project. But considering the market situation, which I'm gonna explain in this slide, we had to put a pause and we had to come back. So the first table shows this is to confirm that how much of the pre-sales of the condo has been dropped in 2024 and 2024. This will show you how bad is the market. It's extremely difficult to make any project work in these days. And I'm sure you guys know about this, but this table gives you a lot of perspective as well. So to launch any project or make any project feasible these days you have to go through a lot of hassles. And if you go to the next slide. So this slide is talking about the average prices about this product and compare it to the comparable products in the area. So the average house or homes in the area is around $1.3 million in the specific area on Richmond Hill. And the product that we're introducing, and this has been mentioned before, is pretty attainable. So we're talking about the units as low as $450,000. And the average of the houses is around, the average of the homes is around, condos is around $700,000, which is extremely lower than the average of homes in the area, which would make it much more attainable for the people who wanna, or the young generation that they wanna get to the house and they wanna buy first home. So this is another reason that we need. I understand we made a commitment that we want to pursue with this project, and we're here. We still want to go ahead, and we want to build this. Trust me, is not very pleasant for a developer to sit on the property and accrue all the financing costs, all the expenses, and wait and come back. This is not pleasant for us as well, and I know there is a frustration for you, but we need your help if we want to make this project feasible. It's a tough one, it's a difficult one, but we have to put all the effort to make it possible.
Okay, so Ramin, you're out of time, so can we wrap it up?
Yeah, so on the last conversation, as Adam said, we had several meetings with the York region for the affordable units. So we are talking to them to see what kind of affordable units we can provide. It has been a live conversation, and we will update back to you guys. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, the next delegation is Howard Doty. Good to see you, Howard.
Good as always to be seen. I must say, that was quite impressive. My comments will be considerably simpler. Serendipitously, this matter was brought in context for me by an email I received this morning from Rebecca Coleridge of the Environmental Defense. She reminded me that Southern Ontario has experienced a staggering amount of wetland loss over the past 200 years of settlement, that 75% of our wetlands have been irretrievably destroyed. The losses are proceeding at an increasing pace. These rich natural systems perform crucial geological functions. The Oak Ridges Moraine is especially important. It is the largest natural filtration system in the province. It continues to face severe, irreversible threats. In the last 6 years, she said, the situation has become increasingly brutal. The Ontario government has systematically abandoned protections and eroded environment laws in favor of destructive, sprawling development. The ripple effects are drained, filled, and damaged wetlands that jeopardize habitat, clean water, and flood prevention. With this in mind, I speak in unwavering support for Councillor Davidson's consistent opposition to this development and her promise to vote against the revised application. I too remain concerned about the height, density, and proximity of the development to the Snively wetland, as well as the environmental impact, potential flooding risks for older homes, worsening traffic, and parking in an area that lacks public transit. The ecological issues are, to me, irrefutable and determinative. So I want to just spend a moment speaking to those who might support the proposal. Some can call this a NIMBY objection. That is as false here as it has been in every other objection that I and others have raised to similar and often more damaging proposals, many of which this council has approved, however reluctantly. The land in question is not in my backyard, but it is at the peak of the moraine, and the natural features pay no attention whatsoever to property lines or personal or corporate finances. The effect of this and other Oak Ridge's moraine developments reverberates geologically through the whole of the system, from its origins to Lake Ontario. This is not a matter of property value, it is a matter of environmental sustainability. Others can claim that standing in the way of developers' demands is not only futile, but a waste of the city's time, human resources, and taxpayers' money. The appeals procedure, no longer accessible to mere residents, costs many thousands of taxpayer dollars, and I am told it is wasted because the Ontario Land Tribunal already has its priorities. The system is rigged. Then there's a matter of precedent. I think it's important to mention that each developer's victory makes the next one easier. They gain momentum. You've heard this before, but when I moved to Oak Ridges in 1984, the town planning department argued convincingly that the land of Ward 1 could sustain was a population of approximately 6,000 people. Then, one after another, incremental increases were deemed exceptional and permitted, and they became the precedent for the next. By 2016, we had 40,000 people here. Soon it'll be 50, 60, maybe 70,000. All I can ask is that in this last attempt at justification, it could be said that one last wetland destroyed is no big deal. Since all is lost, why not deliver the coup de grace? And I would say that pessimism and cynicism are cumulative and no longer affordable options. Please defeat this proposal. It's going to be one of the last chances you get.
Thank you very much, sir. So the last person that we have signed up is Tam Fatahi. And I saw Tam a minute ago on screen. There she is. Welcome. You've got 5 minutes to address council.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor West and esteemed councilors.
Actually, Tam, oh, okay. No, sorry, we're good. We're good. You just turned the volume up a bit. We're fine.
Awesome, thank you. My name is Tam Fatahi, and I'm a resident of 153 Paradell Drive. I'm here speaking on behalf of my children's school community as well as our neighbors. Everything that my fellow delegation mentioned prior to me speaking, I do agree, and so 100% everything what he said. Bayview and Bloomington is one of the last remaining green spaces in our area, a truly precious piece of land. To provide some context, Lake Wilcox is a vibrant, well-loved community that I take my kids to almost every day. It's a space that sees a high volume activity year-round, especially the summertime. It's a frequently visited by families, children, dog walkers, and tons of visitors, making the area already quite congested. Introducing another building to this area would significantly intensify the strain on our local infrastructure. It would mean more people, more cars, and even less space to a community that's safely, comfortable, and joy. And so with that said, I have two questions to inquire to our fellow developers that has been conducted or provided a detailed impact access to our local community infrastructure. Given that our community schools in Oak Ridge is already experiencing enrollment pressures, has there been any consultation with the school boards to determine whether the current capacity can absorb the expected increase in student populations? If no such assessment has been made available, I would respectfully request that council consider pausing any approvals until a full study is conducted. It is important that we ensure our community's educational resources can adequately support both current and future residents. And my second question is that how is this development promoting sustainable mobility when it's mainly auto-dependent with transit not well service to this area? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Tam. Okay, so I don't see anybody else in the audience that wants to speak to this. Is that correct? Okay, and we have nobody else signed up online, so I think we'll bring this back to council. This is Ward 1, so we'll get Councillor Davidson to start us off and move a motion to refer all comments back to staff, and then Councillor Thompson will second it. Go ahead, Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Thank you, staff, and thank you for the delegates, the residents. I've seen at least 40 emails from residents in Oak Ridges who don't want to see this application approved. And I don't think it's any secret that I agree. So in 2022, in July, this property was approved by the previous council for 8 stories, 103 units. And then last year, the applicant came and asked to increase the density, still 8 stories, 135 units. And this council approved that last year. That's a year ago. I'm not sure what the difference is in terms of, you called it the business case. That was less than a year ago, if I recall. So now we're here wanting 10 stories and 229 units. And 3 of these stories now are underwater, or at least in a wetland. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask staff, why now are we hearing about underwater or underground parking in a very sensitive wetland area? And is that something that works from an engineering perspective, or do we know?
Ms. Janetta?
Through the chair to Councillor Davidson. So the previous proposal, staff were advised that going underground was not feasible. And that was part of the considerations for staff to consider the 8-story built form that was recommended for approval initially. 3 stories of parking were above ground. There was no underground parking. And so it included 5 stories of above grade residential floor area. Through the review of this application, the applicant is now proposing underground parking. The technical feasibility of the underground parking is being reviewed by the city's development engineering staff, as well as the Toronto Region and Conservation Authority due to the wetland proximity nearby. So both of the technical feasibility of that and whether city staff and TRCA agree with the underground structures will be determined as part of the review of this development application.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So now the diagram we've seen of, I guess, these big pile-driven things that are going to sustain this 3 stories, through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, do we know what kind of shock, what kind of damage will that do to wildlife in a wetland when you're driving these huge things down, down, down into the ground? Will there be studies of that? And also the effects of this kind of pile driving, or whatever you want to call it, in surrounding homes that are already there?
Through the chair. So some of those matters will be reviewed as part of the technical feasibility of the application and as part of the review of the current proposal in front of us. With respect to nearby homes are located in a decent proximity away from the proposed development. So again, those considerations may not be of as concern as if it were much more closer. Again, all of these things will be reviewed as part of the technical feasibility of the proposal currently in front of us that is being reviewed today.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Although the surrounding homes back onto the wetlands, so noise, vibration, all that carries across water much easier than across land, if that was just a big piece of land and they were that far away, in my opinion. It says that the the underground parking will be waterproof. Through you, Mr. Chair, do we have any ideas what kind of chemicals are needed to keep something waterproof and what that introduces into the wetland, if anything? At this point?
Through the chair, I don't have that information. I would appreciate that. It would be typical construction standards, and if there are any type of special requirements, that would be determined as part of the TRCA's review. There will be a TRCA permit that will be required for any development on this property to happen.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, it's hard not to think about the Florida condo that the underground parking gave way because of water and the whole thing kind of imploded. And I'm not saying that the technology hasn't changed or that it's even possible, but I think this is too much, way too much for this piece of land. And to start now going 3 stories down, I would hate to think in 10 years or any period of time, that's not something people say, why would the city ever approve that? When they knew it's a wetland, they knew it's a wet spot. It's called a wetland. Also the location, the closest amenity is a grocery store 4 kilometers away. I think it's not feasible to think as we try to create walkable cities that someone's going to walk 4 kilometers to the store and 4 back, and there's absolutely nothing else around there. And there isn't a bus service that would take someone from Bayview to Young where the shopping is. So we're going to have to assume that every single unit's going to need a car. That's not only going to increase traffic, it's the opposite of walkable cities, which is what the city is trying to accomplish. And you know, the applicant was approved for something in 2022, 3 years ago. I'm assuming it was cheaper to build that 3 years ago than it costs now to build a condo in 2025. The applicant was approved for something a year ago and argues that they can't make a business case from a year ago. And I just want to say my job as a counselor is not to create a workable project for you and figure out if there's a business case for it. Our job is for you to come to us and tell us what you want. And then you sit on it for 3 years. And then you come back and say, well, I can't make enough money on that one. It won't pay off, or I can't make ends meet. And then you come back for another approval. And we say, yes, you still sit on it. Then you come back a third time. I find this too much and unacceptable. And if the applicant is serious about building something, you have your approvals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thompson, you'll second it?
Yes, I'll second the motion to receive all comments back to staff. Through the chair, I just want to say that like Mr. Ramin, I too am not happy that this is coming back here. I'm also not happy with the reasons that you just provided, because to me, the ability for you to make money on this means nothing to me. This building, when you bought this property, it was approved for 4 stories. And at that time, it was decided for whatever reason that you wanted that property and you could make things work. And so then you come back and say, well, yeah, we may have made a mistake buying that property, but that's not my problem, and it shouldn't be our problem either. But you came back and you came with a pitch for 8 stories. And you actually got that. So you increased the value of that property and you did nothing with it. So I don't have any sympathy for that whole pitch that you just gave us. It means nothing to me. So I can't change what happened in 2022. That council decided to approve that. And that was a building for 103 units. And you didn't do anything with it. You didn't make any money on it. You're now going, woe is me. The whole industry has changed and I can't do that. Well, too bad. I'm sorry. One of the things that I got to ask to staff here is that this now has to go back to TRCA because of what's going on. So this is being circulated. And part of the approval why this happened back in 2022, from what I remember, is that pretty much the ones that approved it on council kept saying, TRCA doesn't have a problem with this. So I'm sure that's why it actually got through. But this now may be a whole different thing. You have to go right back through the whole process again, correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, Hydro G reports and water balance assessments were submitted. They may not have been submitted initially because, again, they weren't doing underground parking structures. So there is more information being provided as part of the review of this application that TRCA will have to take into consideration.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just want to note further about that 22 application. You know, 4 of the 5 council members that supported that application, they didn't pass that next election. It was only just a few months later. So coincidence? I don't know. But I just wanted to say that. What I find really disturbing was that after getting approval, it really looked like you were going to get the shovels in the ground. In speaking with staff, I understand that you were very close to getting site plan approval across the finish line, albeit for some minor exterior design, glazing, and setback issues that shouldn't have been too difficult to resolve. But instead of resolving those minor issues, you went away for a while, and then you chose to come back with another application seeking more density in a location where it's not wanted, not needed, or appropriate for meeting our housing needs. All you've done is tied up our staff's time once again on an application where shovels should have been in the ground long ago. So in 2024, you revised the application, you come to the committee of the whole on April the 3rd, much debate occurred. April 10th, it ended up being deferred to the April 10 council meeting. Again, you got it's still at 8 stories, but now 135 units. And at that time, Councilor DePaula stuck up for you as the applicant, saying how you've got a proven track record, something you were trying to demonstrate there, showing with your Oxford development and Maple development, stuff like that. And, you know, kudos to Councilor DePaula for actually standing up and saying that, you know, this is somebody who's actually doing buildings, although, you know, you have that property at Old Colony and Bayview that's, I don't know, there's crickets seems to be happening at this point. You got an approval on that one and it's still sitting, doing nothing. I don't get it. So, you know, you managed to sway people to be on your side back then. But I come from the society where fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So quite frankly, I didn't support it back then. I'm not going to support it now. And I can only hope that those that were fooled back in 2022 and 24 will say the same thing. I'm not going to be fooled again.
Okay, thank you. Regional Local Councillor DePaulo. Oh, we got, yeah, I think I need to unmute the telephone connection. No, we still can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We are dealing here with a very, very unique situation. What we have to remember as a council that we're making a decision to go forward with a different type of building or a building that's already approved. It's essentially the same size. All issues remain the same. What I'm going to be waiting for is to hear back from the TRCA and from our staff about the proposal to go underground with the building. So I've been told that essentially they're going to create a bathtub. They're going to protect the wetland area, and they're going to build this building inside of a watertight tub. And it's not new technology that the applicant has invented. It's something that's tried and tested elsewhere, and we're going to hear back from those authorities, from the TRCA and our staff evaluating submissions by the applicant. So, can't speak to those environmental issues until we hear back from experts and have those comments. But we are certainly not doing anything untoward in Richmond Hill. I supported this from day one, and I continue to speak in support until professional opinion is otherwise. Because, Mr. Mayor, as you know, we have a requirement to meet provincial targets, housing numbers, and we have limited spaces to do that. We have 1,000 acres of protected land in the north end of Richmond Hill. We're never venturing on that. I will be the loudest opponent of an application that attempts to change the zoning within the Oak Ridge Moraine. But there are some parcels, and this is one of them, that have existing grandfathered reasons why development is allowed. There's very few of those pockets. Young and Stouffville, we're dealing with something. Leslie and Stouffville, very limited settlement area with limited restrictions, but we have to achieve those targets. And when this is said by Councillor Thompson that this applicant's ability to make money or not is not our problem, and the market conditions are not our problem. But they are. The market conditions are such that all builders are choosing not to do anything with approvals, and that's what we're sitting on. Thousands of units that this council has approved and deemed appropriate that are not being built, and it is the case that this applicant has a proven history of building after they've received approvals, and it's not. It was said that how could everything change so much in 1 year? It is changing. It's changing rapidly. The construction industry is extremely difficult, and I think this applicant's making every effort to adapt. And I do like the fact that they're working with York Region Housing on coming to an agreement to get some deeply affordable units here. But this is extremely affordable. They're at the stage of marketing this and talking about $430,000 unit. That's something in Richmond Hill. It's a product that we need. I like the 3-bedroom that are being offered. This is a family opportunity for an affordable situation. There aren't a lot of options in Oak Ridges. If you want to stay in Oak Ridges and downsize, or you have young people in your family that want to stay in Oak Ridges, this is an option, because there's not going to be a lot, and most of Oak Ridges is protected, and there's limited opportunities. So we have to remember that there's already been a conveyance to the TRCA in the city for the wetlands. This is TRCA determined buffer from the wetland, and a developable portion of this lot that's being used and contemplated here. We've already approved a building. I think we should work with the applicant to approve something that they can actually do. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to everyone who spoke again, and the applicant and our staff. I have a huge problem with this. And the huge problem for me is this 3-level underground. The previous one from last year was approved because it didn't have the underground parking. And that was a very critical point to this particular location in order to build. I agree with what Councillor DiPaolo is saying. Yes, there are certain areas on the Oak Ridges Moraine, in Oak Ridges, that can be developed. But I don't understand the necessity of this particular applicant, with all respect, to want to just continue to make this bigger and bigger and bigger. Yes, we need the housing, 100%. But we have the housing if it's constructed according to what was approved last year. So I can support the underground parking, and should it remain that way, it will certainly would not get my approval. The 24 approval is, as far as I'm concerned, should be the absolute extent that we should go to approve this particular application. And while I understand the developers and the applicants' right to their return of investment, I believe that the land and the residents also have a right, and that is to protect their own land, and for us to ensure that the Oak Ridges Moraine and the Snively wetlands in particular are protected here. So I'll wait to hear what the TRCA says. It is, I agree with Councillor DiPaolo, it's an important part of the entire process. But right now, there is absolutely no way I could agree to putting 3 levels of underground parking here, when it was one of the main things that was stated prior to this was the fact that they are not going underground to put in any parking. So now they want underground parking so that anything above there can be used as residences. I understand that, but it is our duty as councillors to make sure that we protect the land as well as make important decisions about whether or not land can be developed. And yes, we are very short of land. In fact, we have no developable land left in Richmond Hill. But this particular reapplication is just a little bit too much for me. So I'll wait to see what comes back in following meetings. But really, I urge this applicant to please relook at what you are doing, and go back to what was approved in 24. You have an application, as Councillor Thompson said, that has been approved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, just hold on a sec. Okay, I'll just make a couple of comments on the first round. This is frustrating because, we are in a housing crisis. We do need to build housing, but I think I wasn't in favor of the initial 8-story development when it first came in the last term of council. I really think that, on page 11 in the staff report, it said, the revised development proposal represents a significant intensification of the subject lands with 10 floors of residential floor area to be supported by 3 levels of underground parking, whereas the previous proposal was comprised of only 5 floors of residential floor area and 3 floors of above grade parking. The intensification significantly exceeds the height and density permissions of the neighborhood designation and site-specific provisions of OPAs 36 and 48 applicable to the lands. I think in its present form, I really think that I wouldn't be able to support this, but I do appreciate the fact that, the developers coming to us because the market is changing. But, I guess the reality is that, while we do have a housing issue in Richmond Hill, we certainly do, and we're working very hard at that. But I think there's, every area has a limit, and I think there are areas where we can push the limit a little bit, and it's probably fine. It's good planning. And there are areas that I don't think we can push the limit. And I think this is probably one of the areas. As was said, from a technical perspective, a lot of us make comments about groundwater, and the public makes comments too. Some of it may or may not be true, but none of us on council here, at least, are geotechnical engineers. That's up to the engineering staff to create something that's going to work, and it's up to TRCA to do what they do to make sure that the groundwater and the environment are being protected. So it will be an important moment from a technical perspective when TRCA brings back their comments, and when we can come up with a review of the engineering to make sure that, in fact, it's something that we potentially could, condone. But I think really the problem that I have with this at the end of the day is that because of the fact that the floors that were going to be taken up with parking are now going to be residential, we have a lot more residential density that's being proposed here than even the original application, which I wasn't enthusiastic about. So I think there's work to do here to bring this down to a level. And listen, the reality is that the applicant does have an 8-story permission that he has in his hand. So something, there is permissions to build something there. Whether or not it will be built in that form or not remains to be seen. But I'm not. I think this application before us right now is not something that I'm happy with at the moment. Hopefully, that some work can be done on it to make it fit in that area in a much better way than it is right now. So, all right, we have a second round request from Councillor Davidson. Councillor DiPaolo, you still have your hand up. Is that from last time? Okay, so Councillor Davidson, go ahead.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. I just want to say I absolutely agree. We need more housing. If this applicant had shovels in the ground, we'd be closer to housing on this unit of these units now. But this particular area, Oak Ridges in general, isn't just any piece of land, and we can't. I don't think being cautious about how we allow building on sensitive areas within whatever the guidelines are, 8 stories, that we're going to solve or break the housing crisis by saying no to this application. And also, it's one of my colleagues said, it's almost the same. Well, it's not. We're going from 8 levels to 13, 3 underground and 10 above. That's a huge increase. And I also want to just, my opinion to my fellow council members is that this is a slippery slope when other developers hear that we move the needle because we were told that the business case would be better if we allowed higher and more density. How many other builders are going to be back here saying, hey, I'll go for that. I'd like some more. I was going to build at this. Now I want that. I just don't see how this is going to end up well. And I appreciate my council members' comments, and we do have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much. Through you, the chair, I went back and I looked at the recordings from last year, and it became very clear that the reasons why that was approved last year was because everybody was worried about the BFF, the Building Faster Fund, that we're all trying to meet those targets. And the applicant made it very clear that, yes, they were ready to proceed. They wanted to get the shovels in the ground as soon as they possibly could. And I think that was a swaying remark for council at that time. I know that, Councillor DiPaolo, I'm going to quote you exactly. You said, my concern as budget chair is we are very hard pressed over the next couple of years to get units built, and this will contribute to us hitting our targets mandated by the province. This is, as a matter of fact, you went on further to say, I have more and more confidence that these units will be built in a timely manner if they're successful in meeting all our requirements and get through the approval stages. Well, instead of going through those approval stages, they've come back with another application. How is that going to be timely? I don't get this. This is what I call a never-endum. It just keeps coming back and back and back. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other comments, we have a... Oh, sorry, Councillor DiPaolo, do you want a second round? Oh, go ahead then. Oh, no, you're muted. I mute the phone connection. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm on there now. Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, it's exactly what I said last time. It's the same thing I'm saying this time. In order for us to get our building faster funds, we have to hit targets. It's as much a reality last year as it is now, even more so, because we're seeing the evidence of the crisis level in the community. So we're not trying to solve Ontario's housing crisis. We're not trying to build enough homes to even put a dent in that. We're trying to solve our financial crisis in Richmond Hill, because we have targets imposed on us that are nearly impossible under the constraints that we have. We have to work with everyone who is truly willing to build in this city. And I say the same thing I did last year. We have an applicant who's truly willing to build. They're going to build at a loss. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand the conditions out there. The builders are not choosing to stand on the sidelines because they're tired. They want to take a year off. They're just let's not build because we're not making as much as we would like to. They can't do it because they cannot break even. The only people that are building are people like Treasure Hill, who are keeping their employees going and at a loss to keep their company as large as it has become. They're just hoping that by continuing to employ that labor force, that when they get through this and take the losses, they're going to be in a better position because there'll be some loyalty in from that labor force. The price of labor, the price of materials, the financing costs, the land costs, it just does not compute to build a building today. And we have someone in front of us who's willing to build a building, provided that they continue to meet the other stages in the rest of this building process. And TRCA says this can't be done. It's harmful to the aquifer or the surrounding area, and it can't be done. But it's definitely worth a try. We have an applicant who's putting all efforts forward and in all sincerity to get these units in Oak Ridges. Now, and any argument that this building is too dense is absolutely insane. This is the least densely populated area in the entire GTA. There's nothing this close to Yonge Street or this near an urban envelope that is less developed. There's no traffic problems. There's no issues whatsoever. There's Lake St. George across the street and Lake Wilcox on the other side. There's nothing else going to be built from Lake Wilcox to Bloomington, to this whole area, to the 404. There is nothing. This is empty. There's 2 GO train stations that go to the middle of nowhere that will never be homes. There is no transportation issues. There is no other argument. The fact that there's an approved building here and this proposal is for the same size of building. There's just, can we put this garage underground without harming the environment? I don't know. We'll see when experts weigh in. But we've got to build units, and we are in a financial crisis if we don't somehow figure out a way to get what we need. What counts as a unit is a foundation poured. We need foundations poured in the next 2 to 4 years, or else we are significantly disadvantaged to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars against all other municipalities that are meeting their targets. So unless the province changes, the current situation forces us to really make an honest effort with everyone that comes forward. And I know I'm taking some criticism for being pro-development. I'm not. I'm just pro the finances of this municipality and the lack of ability to have any more property tax increases. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to refer all comments back to staff. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Tree, all those in